Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to make another fun card. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and so the products that I'm going to be using are from Stampin' Up! If you don't have a demonstrator and you would like to order any of the products featured today, you can see the links below for my website where you could order these items. Also, if this is your first time being with me, please be sure and subscribe to my channel. You can click on the notification bell and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Also, there's links to my Facebook and my Pinterest. So let's get started. Let's take a look at this card. Isn't this cute? Going with the fall theme. We are now in September, believe it or not. This year it's just about over, thank goodness. And I decided to go with a fall card. And this is a window card. So we're going to look at how to make that, but let me show you the inside. So here's the window part. And then I have leaves on the inside, and then I have another card on the inside that would hide, you could still handwrite your sentiment in here. So that's why I put this piece in here. If you didn't have this piece and you wrote here, you would see it through the window. So that's why I did this piece. So I'm gonna show you the products needed to make this and take you on a step-by-step tour of how to do it. So let's get started. I'm using the stamp and die set. You can get these individually or you can buy the Love of Leaves bundle and save 10%. The stamp set is called Love of Leaves and the die set is called Stitched Leaves. And so let me show you this. It has some really good, I love this hope changes everything. Isn't that such a good sentiment, especially for the time that we find ourselves in? Your friendship is something I know I can count on. I'm so glad you're in my life. Just some really neat sentiments. So I really like that for that. And then the die set. So you can either use the die set to cut the leaf like this, and that would give you the window, or you can keep the middle piece, and that will give you, and I'm going to show you these in a minute. That would give you a stitched leaf. I used both, and I'll show you why in a moment. Very versatile set, a lot you can do, the fall theme, definitely a lot of options that you can do with this. Has this really neat stitched element here that you could put like on the side of the card just to dress it up a little bit. So that's the set I used. Again, you can buy them together, the Love of Leaves bundle, which is in the mini catalog, and save 10%, so really good deal. Let's talk about the cardstock. So you're gonna need a piece of Whisper White, and this is 8.5 by 5 1/4, scored at 4 1/4. Let me see if I, 8.5 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I think I got it right that time. And all the dimensions will be down. I'll put those in the description down below. So you got 8.5 by 5 1/2, score at 4 1/4, okay? And then you're gonna need a piece of, I'm using the new in color for this year. This is Cinnamon Cider. I love this color. This piece is 4 by 5 1/4. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need a piece of acetate that's just slightly smaller than this Cinnamon Cider piece. Then you're gonna need a piece of Whisper White that is 4 by 5 1/4, and you're gonna score it at 1/2 inch. No, 4 1/2 by 5 1/4, and you're gonna score at 1/2 inch because that's gonna fold over and that's gonna make the mini card on the inside, okay? And then you're gonna need 2 little strips. The Cinnamon Cider is 3/4 by 3 3/4, and the Whisper White piece is 1/2 inch by 3 1/2, and that's where we're gonna do our sentiment. And then I'm also gonna be using these little gold beads, okay? So that's what we're going to be using for today. We're also going to be using this punch. It has a couple different banners that you could use. And so that's what we're going to use. It shows you on the side what they look like. And you can do, it's got ridging, so you could do different size papers. So we're going to be using that today as well. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I did is I took my Whisper White that I had scored, and I laid my cinnamon cider on there. Now, you could do a variety of things. You could use painter's tape, you could use washi tape. I used a Post-it note, something just to hold this in place. You want to place it where you want it, and just something to hold it in place so you can get your dies set and run them through the die machine. Now, what I did here is, and I don't have my Post-it note holding it down right now, but I did when I did this to prepare. Okay, so I put the middle one on first because I wanted to center it, and I did put the piece in the middle, and I'll show you why in a minute. And I just laid it like that. Then there's two leaves, one goes each direction. So this one goes this way, and the other one goes the other way. And I did the same thing with that. I put the center pieces in there, and then I just ran it through the die cut machine. And let me show you how it comes out. I'm just going to set these aside. And I want to show you the way it comes out. So this is how it comes out. So you get this piece. So you have them cut out of your base. You have them cut out of this piece. And then you get these little leaves. Now, we're not going to be using the cinnamon cider pieces. So you can put those aside and use them for another card. They make really good accents on another card. So you can put those aside. You won't need them on this project. But we are going to use the white pieces, okay? And so this will be able to go right on there. You can see, you can be able to line it right back up based on the holes. And that's what we're going to use to make our window effect, okay? So let's get our stamping out of the way before we do anything else. Now, if you notice, let me show you this stamp set. These are the clear stamps versus the rubber stamps. And so when I'm using these, I have this just little piece of foam. You could use a piercing mat, something like that. I put that down just to give me something to stamp on, and I usually get a better image when I do that. Okay, so let's get our stamping done. Okay, I just put a piece of scrap paper under here, and you'll see why in just a moment. So for the inks on the leaves, I'm using, these are new colors this year, and I'm using the Bumblebee and the Cinnamon Cider. And let me show you what we're gonna do with these. I wanted more of a muted look. I didn't want the full strength of the ink. Let me show you on the card, the finished card. So I wanted that look. I didn't want the full strength of the stamp with the ink on it. So let me show you how I did that. It looks like I just now, I know that I looked at that and I thought, well, that wasn't on there before. I just now got ink on my finger and put it on my finished card. So that was not on there before. Okay. So let me show you what I did. So I just used sponges, and I'm going to start with the bigger one. So we'll get our little white piece in here. And I'm going to put my scrap piece so that if I go off of the leaf, I'll be on my scrap, but I'm gonna have this foam piece underneath, okay? Just like that. So what I did, and this one I used the Cinnamon Cider, I just sponged it on because I wanted a blotchy look. Now keep in mind, every time you do this, it's going to be different because there's no way you're gonna get this exactly the same. So every time is gonna look a little different. So I just sponged it on because I liked that more blotchy look. I didn't really care about the stem. If you really want the stem, you can do that. So let me show you. I just lined it up and pressed down. There. And as you can see, this one looks different than the one I did before, but I didn't mind that. I like that look, okay? So now we're gonna do the bumblebee, and I'm gonna go ahead and close the Cinnamon Cider so I don't have a problem, okay? So now we're gonna do these. Now you'll notice the stamp only goes one direction. I didn't really care because I didn't really care about the stem, so I knew that I could still cover the leaf, okay? So I did the same process. I just sponged it on. You could sponge as much as you want, as little as you want. It's just gonna give you a different effect every time. Then I just lined it up. Okay, just like that. And I didn't even really care if you see how that's off. I really didn't care about that either. I just wanted the splash of color. Okay, I'm just gonna move this one over where I can see it. There we go. So I've got all of my leaves taken care of. And then I'm gonna pull over my little white strip, and I'm just using the black Memento ink, and I'm gonna do the Hope Changes Everything. And you wanna keep in mind when you do this, you want to get it centered on the little white strip, not to one side or the other, because we're gonna be punching both ends, okay? So just ink it up. And you want to get it in the middle. I'm going to move this up a little to make sure that it's in the camera. Okay, there we go. So all of our stamping is done. So now we can just work on putting everything together. So I'm gonna move all this out of the way because we're done with all that. And I'm gonna come back in. Okay, now, the first thing I did was, remember the piece of acetate is just slightly smaller than our Cinnamon Cider piece. And I really didn't care how it went on. Of course, I wanted to get it as straight as I could, but I didn't really have a set measurement. I just knew how it was going on. And it's not going to show anyway because it's going to be down on top of the white. So what I did is I just took my liquid glue and I just, now remember, because it's not going to go all the way to the edge, you don't want to put this all the way to the edge. So I just did some squeezing. Just applied some liquid glue. I wanted to make sure I got it especially around the die cut pieces, because I just didn't want to take any chance. You could very easily turn this into a shaker card if you wanted. I almost did a shaker card instead of this, and you could very easily do that. I see one last place that I want to make sure and get it. And I'm probably way over gluing because, like I said, it's going to be attached to this white piece. So, okay. Now remember, with your acetate, you don't want to put it down and then go moving it, because if you get glue on that and move it over to where it's in the window, of course it's going to show. Now, I got it a little bit there. I could trim that off and you wouldn't even see it, okay? So, the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of get an eyeball for it, okay? You're gonna line it up and say, there, that's where I want it. And so then you're just gonna apply glue to the back. Again, not putting glue. And you could use your adhesive, your tape runner for this as well. And then you're going to, I like the liquid glue for this because then if I need to adjust just a little bit, I've got time to do that. Where if I was using adhesive, there'd be no time for that, okay? So, that part of our card's done. That's simple, okay? Now let me show you how easy this next part is to do. It may look hard, but it's not. So then this is the piece that the 4.5 by 5 1/4, and on the long side, one of the long sides, you're gonna score 1/2 inch, okay? And then I'm just gonna go ahead and fold that and use my bone folder. Just like that, because we're going to place this, so when our card's folded, this needs to go on this piece because we want it to cover our writing. But I still have my leaves to put on here. So here was my dilemma. I didn't want to try to eyeball and go, oh my goodness, how am I going to get them straight? So here's what you can do. You can put these back in the slots where they came out of. Just set them back in the holes. Just like that. Okay, and then I used my take your pick tool and I just put dimensionals. On each of them. And then take the backs off. They're sticking to me. Okay, so let's put these back in here. Kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. They just slide right back in the holes where, remember, you die cut them out of there, so they have to fit in there, right? Okay. Now, I took my adhesive and I ran my adhesive on the fold. Okay. And I went ahead, straighten that up just a little bit. And I figured out where I wanted this. And I went ahead and placed this in there. Now remember, this is all ready to go. The paper's removed from the dimensionals, the sticky's ready to go. Then, once I have this in place and I've adhered this here, I just took the back side of the card and folded it over on the front and pressed down. Now, when I flipped it over and pulled this up, they are perfectly in place in the windows. So I didn't have to stress about how to get them perfectly lined up. That took care of it for me. The leaves are popped up off of this sheet. You can just open this up and then you can write your sentiment on the inside. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, now let's take a look at what we're gonna do with the sentiments on the front. Here's our two pieces that we need to work with. And here's the punch. Now, the way I did it, because these weren't exactly this one fits exactly down in the two. So you can see on the back, you can see what you're doing with it to make sure that it's lined up, make sure that it's centered. If you need to scoot it one way or the other, you can. Because you want to get it, you want the point to be in the middle. Okay. Then I'm going to do the other end. Okay, white piece is done. And we're going to do the same thing with the cinnamon cider piece. For me, it's just easier to look at the back. It just gives me the assurance that I'm getting it where I want it, so that if it's not in the middle, I can just move it however, whichever way I need to go to get it in the middle. And the pieces will fly. Let me warn you about that. Okay, now we just have the other end to do. Okay, so that's done. So then all we need to do is put this on here. So I'm just going to take it with some more adhesive. I'm just going to line this up on here. Luckily, I hadn't pressed it down because I got it a little off. So that's all you do with that. And then I just came back with the little gold pieces and I just put one right in that point on each end. I love this saying, this sentiment, hope changes everything. I just love that. And then I just took a few dimensionals. Put them on the back. then I just centered this on the front. And there you go. The card's done. You have the window with your leaves, and then you can write your sentiment in here and it's all ready to go. Hope you've enjoyed this card. If you would like to order the products you've seen today, please go to my website and do that, karensmith.stampinup.net, and I'll look forward to crafting with you again soon.